Greetings, fellow scribes! Welcome back to the archive! This week, I continue my series on Battletech with yet another installment of the history of Battletech. But before I go into talking about the FedCom Civil War, I need to apologize. I made an error last week. I got the First Lord of the new Star League mixed up. It was actually Sun Tzu Liao who was the First Lord. Theodore Kurita is the second First Lord. And I'm going to talk about his election as part of the video. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we talk about the FedCom Civil War. So when Prince Victor went to the clan homeworlds to end the Smoke Jaguars, after Operation Bulldog finished kicking them out of the Inner Sphere, he left his youngest sister, Yvonne Steiner-Davian, as the regent for him. And he comes back, and he finds out his younger sister, but not his youngest, Katherine, had manipulated Yvonne into letting her take over the Davian half of the Federated Commonwealth. And Yvonne, after realizing she had been manipulated, turned to the only place she could. The traditional enemies of House Davian in House Kurita. Because that is how much a relationship had been forged between the Draconis Combine and the Federated Commonwealth during the clan invasion. When you actually consider that the first prince of the Federated Commonwealth considers the coordinator of the Draconis Combine a friend. And oh yeah, was kind of dating the coordinator's daughter. But that's a little bit beside the point at this point. It is important later on. So, Prince Victor returns. He finds out about this. And he's relieved. His overall decision is he's not going to worry about it. He'll accept having lost the throne. And for a time he does. And then, then you have the stuff going on in the Capellan Confederation where they're invading the St. Ives Compact and making it again the St. Ives Commonality when Candice Liao surrenders. And, that's what happened in the South. And then other stuff begins happening. Katherine begins treating the Davian units poorly. And then Kentari's 4 happens. She drops the 6th Donegal Guards onto Kentari's 4 to take over the world. You have to understand, Kentari's 4 is a very significant breadbasket world. And aggro worlds are things worth fighting for no matter what. Kentaris 4 was a very important aggro world. And Katherine didn't think about the history of the world. The entire royal family, except for one straggler who was off-world fighting the clans when she started the invasion, was killed. The young lord returns to his world and fights a guerrilla campaign, eventually driving Katherine's forces off. But once word got out among Davians that Katherine dropped forces hostile onto Kentaris 4, there was already tension. And this was the match on the powder keg. This plunged the entire Federated Commonwealth into a civil war. Now understand, we are talking about, in some worlds, militia units that just happen to get dragged into the fighting. But we're also talking about elite units picking sides. We're talking worlds, literally a civil war, a brother against brother type situation. And this wages. But before Kentaris, before Katherine lights the match, you have the Second Whitting Conference. And this sets many stages. First, the two nominated lords for the First Lord are Katherine and Theodore Carita. And it is a tie vote. Now, it's a tie vote because, first, the Word of Blake are allowed in begrudgingly as non-voting members. And you added two more voting members, the Magistracy of Canopus and the Taurian Concordat. These were allowed in peacefully at the sponsorship of Comstar. And they kind of helped end up turning it into a tie vote. And remember, the Presenter Marshal of Comstar has the tie-breaking vote. Well, things were interesting in this point. Anastasius Vogt decided to, in the middle of the conference, retire. So it was like, who's going to be the new Presenter Marshal? Well, the new Presenter Marshal was Victor Ian Steiner Davian. And of course, he cast his tie-breaking vote towards Theodore. Thus, Theodore became the second First Lord of the Star League. And Katherine was angry. And it is at this point that she started to decide she wanted to get revenge on her older brother. And the best way to do that would be to go after his realm fully. And so she gave the orders to drop on Kintaris, on a number of other worlds, to secure them and their assets for the good of the Lyran Alliance. Although she was ostensibly doing it for the good of the Federated Commonwealth, because she was over both halves at this point. But things never go quite the way anyone plans. And she forgot one of the first rules. And this breaking into first rule was a bad move on her part. Poor Katherine. She just didn't know what she opened up. Katherine's first brilliant idea was to reach out to Khan Vlad Ward of Clan Wolf. And this was a brilliant idea. She convinced him to send supplies via his merchant castes and help her equip her forces to fight the veterans of Task Force Serpent and Operation Bulldog, who were fighting on Victor's side, or on the Davian side, and were armed with clan tech equipment. And she kept meeting with Vlad Ward. And somehow Khan Ward kind of got a thing for her. And, well, for Katherine, anything for power. But she made a mistake. Oh, no, not with Vlad. With Omi Karita. You see, as I mentioned, Victor Davian was dating the coordinator of the Draconis Combine's daughter. Omi Karita was that daughter. Omi Karita was also a number of very important positions within the Draconis Combine, ceremonially speaking. The keeper of the coordinator's family honor, for instance. And, well, Katherine decided to have Omi assassinated. The assassin was brilliant, but they still managed to kill Omi. They were caught, they were interrogated, and then they were given the opportunity to redeem themselves by going after Katherine, which they refused, and so were killed. But here's where the mistake came in. The first rule in Battletech, in the Battletech universe, is you never kill someone's civilians. You don't make the fight personal. Takahashi Karita learned this lesson the hard way when he killed the Wolf's Dragoon civilians on their space station, Hesperus. Sorry, Hephaestus. Merrick learned it when he killed the civilians of the Wolf's Dragoons a second time. It's basically been the one thing that if you do in Battletech, you are going to regret doing it. And Katherine killed the love of Victor's life. He had to step down as Presenter Marshal of Comstar because he could not be neutral anymore. He had tried being neutral, sending peacekeeping forces to keep atrocities from happening, to keep anything more like Kintaras from happening. And he had to step down. And he went into battle in his direwolf. And he fought his way everywhere. He would show up on worlds, rally the troops, win the day, take what could be spared, and go to the next world, building an army as he went. And then he arrived on Tharkat, the capital of the Lyran Alliance, where Katherine was making her stand. They fought their way through the palace and captured her. During the deciding what to do with her, there was a lot of thought of just executing her or locking her in prison. But they got a request from Vlad Ward that he would take her off their hands. That she would never trouble them again if they exiled her into his custody. And that is how the FedCom Civil War ended. But things aren't all love and happiness now, because shortly after the end of the FedCom Civil War came the third Whitting Conference. And this unleashed hell on the Inner Sphere. A hell not seen since the First and Second Succession Wars. Next week, I talk about what the Word of Blake did. So until then, have fun and keep gaming.